Good morning. CSAT has a major chunk of questions which are based upon comprehension. And there are six broad problems which untrained students face while they're handling reading comprehension passages which appear on CSAT. We'll also look at their solutions. In case of comprehension, uh, what appears on CSAT is technically called as evidence-based reading comprehension. I'll repeat, evidence-based reading comprehension, which means you need to get proof of the answers or evidence of the answers from the passage itself, and you get marks for taking the right answer and not for your understanding of the reading comprehension passage. Still, you have to understand the exact meaning of a key sentence when you are answering a specific question. You have to understand a complete paragraph or two in order to crack a perception question. At the same time, a complete holistic understanding of the whole passage is required in order to solve a general question, which means you need to have a kind of a bird eye view of sorts of the whole passage. Moreover, the twisted language of questions and answer choices has to be understood perfectly well. And most of the passages are going to use scary, difficult language which cannot be understood at the first go. Now, the language which is used in the passages and questions is purposefully kept difficult and confusing in order to check your levels of comprehension. It is your comprehension which is being tested, so the language has to be kept difficult. And there are six problems which it leads to, because of which understanding even the language of comprehension passages becomes difficult for an untrained student or a UPSC aspirant. We'll also look at the solutions to these six problems. As a first step, I want you to look at this particular passage, read through it casually, quickly, or with a lot of concentration, whatever way you think, but read it once only. This will give you an idea about the problems which entail in case of passages. You can pause the video at this stage if you want. Okay, let's proceed ahead. So let's look at the biggest problem, the first issue because of which students face a problem, and that is perception. Your way of thinking, the way you look at a passage. What is at the back of your mind when you're reading the passage? What are you actively hunting for when you're reading the passage? All aptitude tests, I'm repeating here, including the CSAT, they use evidence-based reading comprehension rules. At the same time, you have to understand that CSAT stands for the Civil Services Aptitude Test, which means it's an aptitude test which has been modified to the requirements of civil services. So the required answers have to be modified according to the attitude expected of a civil servant. And this is a sheer role play, and you have to play the role of a civil servant. And remember, as a civil servant, your answers need to focus upon mitigating problems, solving problems, and should be focused upon the development of the country. As a result, the required attitude is prescriptive by nature. So, the primary focus when you're reading the passage and the questions and choosing answers should be that you only look at information given in the passage. At the same time, the underlying perception or attitude while choosing answers or while reading the passage, it has to be based upon understanding the holistic picture of the whole passage, upon mitigating problems, solving problems, identifying opportunities for development of your country, and be very proactive, very optimistic, and prescriptive by nature when you are reading the passage as well as answering questions. So the two areas on which you need to focus are clarifying problems and looking for opportunities for development of your own country. Second problem is that the passages will use a certain number of infrequently used words and phrases. Till your 5th standard, your school teachers have taught you a certain number of words, and you know the dictionary meaning of these words because teachers focused upon you referring to your dictionaries in order to find out meanings of words. They encourage you to use dictionaries. Dictionaries were part of the syllabus and you got them along with the rest of the books at the beginning of the academic year. There were questions which were based upon synonyms, antonyms, meanings of words. You were given words and you had to make sentences using the word in the right manner with the right meaning, etc. So you do know a certain number of words whose exact dictionary meaning or literal meaning is clear to you. At the same time, the same word may have a second meaning or a third meaning which may come here in case of the examination. Plus, there will be a certain number of technical terms or jargon which also would be used, and technical terms or jargon are basically those words which are specific to a certain domain, a certain profession, a certain subject only. So because you don't belong to that subject, you would be unfamiliar with such words. I'll give you some examples which are examples from the latest paper. Look at these words. Just read them through once. These are words which appeared in just two passages of CSAT paper. Scholasticism, bedlam, vernal, eutrophication, parlance, connotations, skepticism, patentee, monetize, emissions, detour, biomethanation, atropine, datura, staples, monoculture, exacerbate, basin-based approach, cognitive ability, constraints. When these slightly infrequently used words for you appear on the examination, this brings down your understanding of sentences and understanding of the whole passage as such. So, you know certain number of words for which a clear literal or a dictionary meaning is clear to you. At the same time, there are certain infrequently used meanings of the same words or some other word which you've not seen. There are a lot of words which have a clear contextual meaning, and there may even be words on your actual examination which you've never seen in your life before. We'll look at all of these issues as such. So, the solution is to build up your vocabulary, obviously. Words that you hear infrequently and you do not know the exact literal or dictionary meaning, they create more problem, as your understanding of the sentence's meaning will become less when they appear in a sentence. So this problem can be solved by going through a good word list with meanings so that you can sharpen up your understanding of relevant words. So what I've done is I've created a word list. I've cherry picked a certain number of words which a student must know when they are preparing for civil services. This word list is required for you to understand your GS subjects as well, other subjects as well, not just CSAT. Is not limited to its application on CSAT. Rather, this is applicable almost everywhere. These are words which you definitely should know. I'll share this particular list with you. And this list has all of those words which you should be clear about, and it has to be done on a regular basis. You need to work upon it on a regular basis to improve your overall vocabulary. Plus, a lot of alien words that you've never encountered in your life, they can be understood if you have an idea of rupturing or breaking down these long difficult words into suffixes, roots and prefixes. And you need to study how to do rupturing. You need to know all suffixes, roots and prefixes in order to do justice to such words and understand them. And you need to do it all on the go as you read the passage. Moreover, there are times when there may be a difficult term which is just a technical term or a name, and you're not supposed to be aware about the meaning of that particular word or to understand that particular word as such. It is not required for you to answer the questions also. For example, if you look at the word Freudenschad, if it appears on the examination, it's a German word which basically means pleasure derived from misfortune of other people, but you don't need to know its real meaning. You need to treat it as a technical word, as just a technical term. Third problem is presence of very complicated information in the passages. For example, look at this particular part of a passage. This is something which appeared on CSAT 2021. Just read it. You can pause the video and go through it carefully also to see whether you can figure it out completely or not. Will you be able to answer questions based upon this passage? You can pause the video if you want. Okay. The solution for handling complicated information such as this in the passages is that you need to be somebody who reads extensively and reads widely. When I say read extensively, it means you need to devote a greater amount of time to reading not only your subjects, but you also have to read other subjects. That is going to give you the context of other subjects as well, and you'll be able to handle them. You should not limit yourself to books recommended in school, college syllabus or your CSAT syllabus as such. Rather, you need to get exposure of all possible subjects. You need to read fiction and non-fiction books. You need to read editorials of newspapers such as The Hindu, and you need to go to certain reading websites such as aeon.com in order to get more exposure of this kind of information which can appear on the examination. You need to read magazines such as Frontline, which actually use the same language which is expected out of you in case of the examination. And books by university professors at the end of their careers and philosophical abstract authors from Scandinavian countries is something which really helps, because a lot of passages are picked up from these kind of authors. Fourth problem is presence of difficult and erudite or language of people who are very well educated. Look at this particular single sentence. See if you can figure it out, the meaning of this particular sentence, by reading it once, casually or with a lot of concentration, whatever. The solution to this particular problem is to develop a clear sense of English grammar as a first step, which, among other many things, ensures that you become familiar with different types of sentence structures. Sentences can be simple, complex, compound, or complex compound, and you need to understand very clearly how phrases play a role in elaborating meaning of various parts of a particular sentence. You have to obviously read extensively and widely, which helps. You need to read fiction and non-fiction books, editorials of newspapers such as the Hindu and Indian Express, and some reading websites to get comfortable with reading from the computer monitor also. This is a solution. Fifth problem is usage of figurative meaning, rhetorical elements, rhetorical devices, or rhetorical styles. Figurative meanings are used by authors and they may clash with the meaning of the sentence that you are figuring out. The context of usage may decide whether a thank you has been spoken out of gratitude and appreciation because you're happy with somebody, or it can also be used to shoo away somebody who's repulsive and despicable and comes to offer you any help. And you obviously say a thank you to that person. You obviously would say a thank you to such a person without any gratitude or appreciation as such. So, argumentative, analytic, and abstract passages, they may use rhetorical elements and devices, and a lot of them. Still, you are expected to figure out the meaning of passages, questions, and answer options. Now, just understanding the direct meaning of passages is difficult itself. When rhetorical elements come into play, then this makes the passage even more difficult. So, the solution for this particular problem is you need to learn rhetorical appeals, rhetorical elements and devices, and you need to master argumentation and critical reasoning. Critical reasoning is something which you've already done as part of your preparation for comprehension. It's a separate set of questions. So you would know about critical reasoning, but you need to master argumentation to a greater extent. Sixth problem is that authors from whom passages are picked up, from whose passages are picked up, they have an artistic license or a creative license, and this creative license gives them permission to use words, phrases and expressions without respecting their literal or dictionary meanings also at times. The solution to this problem is you need to learn how to do paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is converting a complicated, difficult English language sentence into simpler sentence which your brain can handle better. So you need to paraphrase a sentence into a simpler structure, having simpler terms with fewer number of words, and rearrange different parts of the sentence in order to get a better idea. So let's take an example of paraphrasing. This is a sentence which has been picked up from a passage that appeared in the exam. Read it carefully, and then I'll show you how paraphrasing really helps us here. Okay, let's see how or what you need to pick up out of this particular long, complicated sentence. After paraphrasing, this sentence basically is trying to tell you if a compound binds strongly, it will stimulate locomotion more. But it has been written in a very fancy way here. And you need to be good at converting this fancy language into a language which is understandable and would help you do process of elimination by matching it up with the 4 answer choices. That's all for today. As a follow-up in later sessions, we are going to go into greater details about learning the strategies of 41 different types of comprehension questions, and we'll solve actual questions that have appeared in previous year UPSC CSAT exams. Also, if you found this video session helpful, I want your feedback. I also want you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Its name is Aptitude Test Insights, so that you can automatically get the future instructional videos that I plan to release on a weekly or a fortnightly basis. I also want you to share this video with your fellow aspirants so that others can also benefit. That's all for today. Bye. Best of luck.